Viktor Orban is the president of Hungary, a lover of football, and according to TIFO, investing heavily in Hungary's footballing system. Hello and welcome back to the TomFM channel. Hope you're all doing well today and looking forward to something a little different to what we usually do. Today it's an experiment. We've not really done these for a long time actually. So because FM21 is around the corner, I want to do some more experiments on that game. So I thought let's get ourselves warmed up and get ready for it with an experiment right at the end of FM20. We're going back to an old classic from the channel, the Billionaire experiment. I'm not entirely sure if there's much demand for these sort of experiments anymore in the FM sort of sphere of influence on YouTube, but I thought there's no harm in trying and seeing if there is sort of demand for it, and if there is, we'll do more of them. But for now, let's see what happens if a billionaire invests in Hungary. Should also point out as well, if you haven't yet pre-ordered Football Manager 21, then you can do so via the link in the description. I've partnered up with 2Game, who are a Sega authorized retailer. You can get the game on there for cheaper than Steam, and if you use code TOMFM at checkout, you get 10% off any order, not just Football Manager, any order you want. So if you want to use that, link down below, would massively appreciate it. So as you saw in that sort of mini introduction, this actually isn't that far-fetched. I mean, maybe £1 billion is quite far-fetched, but Viktor Orban, the president of Hungary, does enjoy football, and apparently he's putting a fair bit of money into Hungarian football. So what would happen if we gave every single club in Hungary £1 billion? Well, today we are going to find out. So as you can see, we're on the Hungarian page here. If we click on a team like Újpest, for example, a random team, I've got the in-game editor installed. I can edit club details and finances. Well, every single club has got £1 billion bank balance, £1 billion transfer budget, and £5 million in wage budget, which is the highest it can go to. As you can see, 5 million is the highest on wage budget. So they've got a lot of money. And obviously not just Újpest. I've done this for every single club, not in just the Hungarian first division, but every club in the Hungarian second division as well. So this team, for example, edit club details, finances, £1 billion is in there. Of course, I made a reference to Tifo Football in the introduction. If you've not seen that video before, then I highly recommend it. It's really interesting. I'll put a link on top of the screen right now for you to go and watch after you finish this video, because it is a good one. From what I can remember, when we used to do the experiments quite a bit back in the day, usually there's one team that dominates to start off with, and then one or two teams that have invested heavily in finances and youth development and things like that start to overtake in about 10, 20 years time or something like that. So hopefully we'll see Pushka's Academy do that, because of course that's the team that in real life people don't like, but we love on the channel because we had a good managerial career at Pushka's Academy in our Around the Block save for a few seasons. So we quite like Pushka's over here, but I think in real life they're kind of like the MK Dons, or they're kind of like PSG, basically the bad guys of the football in their country, I think. Either way, in today's episode, we're going to start things off and go 5 years or so into the future and see what happens. So I'll be with you in just a second's time. So a season into the future, and as you can see, Ferencváros have won their first title since the 2017-18 season. Ferencváros came third in the end. Of course, Ferencváros this season in real life have just qualified for the Champions League group stage. But as you can see, currently there are 4 European places up for grabs. I think Ferencváros go into the Champions League like early qualifying rounds, and then Honvéd, Ferencváros and Puskás, who came 4th in the table, will all qualify for various qualifying rounds of the Europa League. As you can see, the Hungarian first division is still in 38th position in European rankings. The higher that goes, the more European positions they get given to their league. So once you try and get as high as possible. According to the game, Ferencváros were the reigning champions of Hungary. So if we look at them very quickly to see how they got on in Europe this season, they got through qualifying rounds in the Champions League, lost to Ajax unfortunately in the third qualifying round, and played Dundalk, who they actually beat in the first qualifying round for the Champions League. So that's a bit weird, isn't it? Beat them there though for a second time and got into the group stages of the Europa League, where by the looks of things they didn't qualify because their run ends with a loss to Wolverhampton Wanderers. I guess pleasing sign to that first season. I don't think Ferencváros are usually a fixture in European group stages, so fair play to them there. That £1 billion has kind of helped them out a bit. If we have a quick look at transfers, how much money are they spending? So Martin Branthwaite came in to Ferencváros, from Barcelona for a lot of money. So obviously they spent big there. But because reputation isn't quite so big in Hungary yet, that's the only big transfer. All the other ones under £1 million. So they're not quite spending all of that money yet. Season 2 and Ferencváros this time have regained their title from Ferencváros, who came second. Puskás end up in third, and Újpest this time end up in the top 4, with Budapest Honvéd dropping down to 5th. Now in this season, the Europa Conference League comes into place, or I should say for the next season. So rather than these teams qualifying for the Europa League, they're now qualifying for the Europa Conference League, which is one step down from the Europa League. So arguably you could say we're going backwards already, but we can't really help that just because of where Hungary are in the European standings. They've not moved from 38th, which is a little bit worrying, but Ferencváros going to the Champions League, arguably you could say that actually these Hungarian sides should do better in the Europa Conference League, so hopefully we'll see a bit of a reputation boost in the next few seasons. I'll have a quick look at transfers first and foremost. More money being spent this season, but still not huge amounts of money, and not for big reputation players. If I'm being honest with you, I can't say I've heard of any of these players, not even the Chelsea player, so apologies for that, because that just shows my lack of footballing knowledge potentially, but not big deals being done yet still. Last season's champions got through one qualifying round of the Champions League before losing to Celtic and having to go into the Europa League qualification rounds, where they beat Maribor but lost on penalties to Steaua Bucharest, so not the best for Ferencváros. Even worse for Ferencváros, they only got through to the second qualifying round of the Europa League, where they lost to Victoria Pleasant. Ferencváros went one better, got to the third qualifying round of the Europa League but got knocked out by Rangers. And the less said about Honved, the better, as they lost to Kriva in that first qualifying round. So not the best for European football. I can see why they've stayed in 38th position, not improving or anything like that. So not a great start to this experiment. Season 3 now, and Ferencváros beat Ferencváros to the title this season. A battle between these two sides is emerging, as you can see, for the top two teams in the division. Hungarian First Division itself has moved up to 37th, so not quite the rapid increase that we thought we might be seeing, which is a little bit disappointing and does suggest that European performances once again have been below par. Not a good season if you're an Újpest fan. After getting European football last season, you've now been relegated, so unlucky there, lads. Again, transfers, not really seeing much money being spent on the transfers, and again, I'm not really recognising the players coming through either, so there has to be a real increase in reputation at some point soon for these teams to start buying players, but hopefully before then they start developing their own players that are really good. We are now 3 seasons in, and I'm interested to see how much these teams are spending on wages, and Ferencváros are leading the way with £28 million spent on wages. That's an awful lot of money compared to second Honved with 8.25. Ferencváros only £6.6 million, and teams like ZT right at the bottom only £2 million or so. So Ferencváros are clearly spending a lot of money on some of these players. Branthwaite, for example, he is on £90,000 a week. So this team is not scared to spend the money. They're spending the money to get results, and they've won 2 league titles so far. This guy's on only £17,000. I say only £17,000 is a lot of money for Hungarian football. 9.25 for Dennis there as well. So a lot of money being spent by Ferencváros. In fact, if Braithwaite is on 90 grand a week, just round it up to 100 grand, that's £1 million every 10 weeks. That's £5 million a season, roughly, that they're spending on him alone. They're spending more money on one player than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams are spending on their entire wage bill. Ferencváros are going for it, aren't they? They are really going for it. So this is the team that I predict that we're going to see a lot of short-term success from. Teams further down who develop their facilities, get better youth intakes coming through. These are the teams that are probably going to overtake Ferencváros in about 10 years' time. Season 4 now, and Ferencváros have won back their league title from Ferencváros. All the money that Ferencváros are spending, they can't win titles back to back, unfortunately. Puskás are, comfortably, just about in 3rd position, with Honved just behind them, who are just missed out on European football, because I imagine the winner of the Hungarian Cup, which is this team, Kisvádra, they have won the Hungarian Cup, which means they get European football. So that must be either a change for the system, or it's just been lucky that every single season so far a team of top 4 has won the cup. But congratulations to them. Obviously European football is big for them. Again, let's have a quick look at transfers. More money starting to be spent, but again, I'm not quite seeing the names that I recognise. I mean, if you guys recognise the names, please do let me know in the comment section. But given that I'm not an expert on Eastern European football and things like that, I'm not too sure on the names of some of these players. I mean, Marcelo Jose, he's a regen. All right, he's a regen. That makes more sense. But Francis, for example, from PSG to Ferencváros, is a real player. I can't say I'd ever come across him before, but he's had a good career in Spain and France, and he's now playing in Hungary. So for all the money that Ferencváros are spending, it's starting to pay off as they qualified for the Champions League group stages this season, but lost every single game against Ajax, Atletico Madrid and Juventus. But at least they're getting there. That's a good start. Unfortunately, Ferencváros can't do much in the Europa Conference League. They get knocked out to a Cypriot team in the best place qualifying round, third qualify. It's very complicated, the qualifying systems, I always feel. Third qualifying round is essentially what that is. And Puskás getting to the same stage as well, but losing to Austria Vienna. So only one team, Fehérvár, getting through to a group stage in this past season, which isn't... Well, it's good that they got to the Champions League group stages, but we want to see every single team get to the group stages of their competition, not just one. And in Season 5, Fehérvár this time win the league title ahead of Ferencváros. They keep trading titles. Neither of them can get a stranglehold on it and keep it to themselves. But not a good season for Puskás fans as they drop down to 5th, as Kisvárda get themselves up to 4th in the top 4 for the first time, and Honvéd are back in there for the first time in a while as well. Interestingly, finally, we've seen a bit of a jump as the Hungarian First Division is up to only 34th in European rankings. I expect to see it inside the top 20 at this stage, if I'm honest with you, given how much money we put into the clubs. But it's not happened, which means that I think for this episode, I'll do another 5 seasons very quickly as well to sort of see if anything major happens. But again, looking at the transfer window, more money is starting to be spent now, mostly from players from South America, Boca, River Independiente, Santos, all coming over. Obviously must be all wonder kids and regens and things like that to be coming over to play in Hungary. But if this is how they get to become good, I rate it. Have Fehérvár got into any European competitions this season? If we quickly filter it by things that aren't Hungary. They didn't even get through to the group stages of the Europa Conference League after their Champions League group stage appearance. They obviously came second in the league, got into the Europa Conference League, but haven't been able to get to the group stages. That's very disappointing. Ferencváros, on the other hand, got through to the Europa League group stages, but came 4th in their group. They didn't qualify into the Europa Conference League by finishing 3rd in their group, or obviously get through into the later stages by finishing 1st or 2nd. So bottom of their group there, but again, at least they're getting there. They got through all the Champions League qualifying rounds, actually, lost in the final Champions League qualifying round. So that's good progress as well. We're getting there. We're getting there with Hungary, but I think another 5 seasons in today's episode, I'll do it very quickly right now, we should see some big progress. And so here we are. We are now 10 seasons into the future. We've got another 5 seasons since you last saw me. And as you can see, since then, Ferencváros have won every single title. They finally made themselves dominant in this division. Fehérvár pushed to the wayside, although by looks of things, they might keep coming second. So we were just here a second ago for Fehérvár's last win. Since then, Ferencváros, as I said, have won every single time, with Fehérvár coming second not quite every single season. 26-27, they dropped down to 3rd, with Pax coming out of nowhere to get a Champions League place, as you can see. So improvements obviously happened in this time period. They do regain 2nd in 28-29 season, and in the current season, 2nd again. So 2nd every season apart from once. It's also not been bad for Puskás. They've always been in and around the top 4 as well. But also, interestingly, only Europa Conference League places now. So when did they lose a Champions League place? In fact, they had a Champions League place then. But that might suggest that Ferencváros weren't in any European football at that point. They may have had a ban of some sorts. Let's have a quick look at this. History, landmarks. It should be on here. Finance. Failed financial fair play regulations twice. So they've been kicked out of European football twice for failing financial fair play, which means they've been making a loss of too much money. So they basically spent too much money in these seasons, which means they failed financial fair play, which means that they couldn't qualify for European football. So Ferencváros domestically dominating, but at what cost, basically? Transfer fees over the past 5 years. Fehérvár have been spending a lot of money. Adam Nagy, I actually recognise that name. That's, I think, the first name that I recognise, mainly because I think he starts at Bristol City in the start of the game. That might be why I recognise him there. But as you can see, 16, 15, 11 million pounds being spent by Fehérvár there, so they're not afraid to spend money. The season afterwards, it's then Ferencváros spending all the money at the top there, buying players from Fehérvár and Brazil, like they seem to love to do. Then Ferencváros dominate the next season, buying in Carlos Alenia. That's a very big transfer. Lewis Gibson as well, Noah Okafor. These are names that I'm starting to recognise now as the reputation increases and Ferencváros are splashing the cash, as you can see. 27-28 season, it's Fehérvár spending more money overall. The biggest transfer does go to Ferencváros. And then in 28-29, which is the season that we're in right now at the very end, not quite so much money being spent. And in fact, a few of them are actually leaving, like this guy leaving Ferencváros to go to Liverpool. So I presume, did this guy... no, they bought him in from Krasariv and sold him for a loss, actually, to Liverpool. So I guess he must be. In fact, if we go to edit attribute details, not even that much of a wonder kid, actually. He's not that good, 152 potential. Weird one. As you can see though, there has been quite a big rise in the past 5 years, with the Hungarian First Division being as high as 20th at one point, dropped down to 21st in this past season, which obviously means they've done well in European football. Now, I'm not suggesting that any teams won a Champions League, but it does suggest that Ferencváros may have qualified for the group stages a couple of times. So we'll go through our group stages. I'm just looking down here now though in this first season that we've been simulated since we were last here. No team in the group stage. The season afterwards, I'm looking again for a Hungarian side and can't see one. The season after that, Ferencváros are in a Champions League group stage. They're only the second team to get to a group stage in the Champions League. Unfortunately, though, they do lose every single game, so not the best showing from them. The season after that, no one in the group stages. And then the season that we have just had, I can't yet see any team in the group stages. So surely we must have seen some good performances in the Europa Conference League. But in the 24-25 season, not a single Hungarian side in that first knockout round. Or in the second season, the 25-26 season. But Rosenborg given a bye. I've never seen this before. If someone can explain these byes to me, that would be appreciated. We go into the season after that, and I can't see a Hungarian side. I can see Fehérvár, though, in the first knockout round in the 27-28 season. So that's a bit of progress somewhere. Let's follow this lead. Second knockout round, Fehérvár beat Vitesse. So they go into the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals, Fehérvár win again against Schalke. Into the semi-finals, Fehérvár beat Genk. They play Club Brugge in the final. Who wins it? Fehérvár win the Europa Conference League against Club Brugge on penalties in Vienna. That is the reason we have seen a huge increase in the Hungarian coefficient and ratings and reputation, and that's why we've seen them boost themselves to 20th in all of European rankings. That's very impressive. And then in the season that we've just had, Ferencváros have got themselves into the first knockout round of this. Can we have a second winner in this competition as we go into the second knockout round? As Ferencváros, where are they? I can't see them. It's because they are there. They've beaten Krasnodar into the quarterfinals. Come on, let's have a second team win this. Unfortunately, they lose to Marseille. Okay, not quite a second team winning it yet, but big success in the Europa Conference League. That's what we've seen today. So it's taken 10 seasons, but we have seen a Hungarian side win a European competition. I'm very excited to see what they can do in the next 20, 30, 40 years or so. So I think we'll probably do another episode of this if you guys want me to. So make sure you do drop a like on the video if you want to see another episode of this, so we can try and get one sorted out for later on this week. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching today. I hope you guys have enjoyed something slightly different to what we usually do on the channel, but hopefully more of this kind of thing to come in FM21. And of course, until next time, have a wonderful evening. I will see you soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.